Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool, and you are listening to Hindsight Hacking, where we have talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs hacking their hindsight to give you clearer foresight.
And now, as we still bring you the same great, amazing interviews each and every week, we are adding bits and pieces to serve you in such a great way. These bits and pieces are some mindset hacks, visibility hacks, traffic hacks, and more on the Daily Hack. So we want to make sure that you have all the tools and all the resources that you need to gain more visibility and gain more traffic.
And obviously, to get more sales. So head over to gethhm.com/toolbox to grab your free resources to get the help you need to get more.
And if you're interested, after you collect all those freebies, because they're amazing, hit the link in the show notes and jump on our calendar because we definitely want to help you.
Guys, we absolutely love the community that we've created with your guys' help, and we love all the Hindsight Hackers. So jump on in and get on our calendar.
So without further ado, what do you say? Let's get to it.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hindsight Hacking. And today's special guest is a true professional in the sales, coaching, real estate world, Mr. Bryce Mckinley. Now, Bryce, he has perfected the sales conversation over 20 years of working with various Fortune 500 companies like Ford, Nissan, Tyco, and ADT. And at the end of the day, with closing over, this blows my mind. I'm tongue twisted for it. Closing over 8,000 deals later, Bryce is one of the leading experts in wholesaling houses with his 5-hour flip method. Using his unique rapport building and questioning technique, he's been able to close almost every deal over the phone, only ever walking 4 properties. That blows me away. And one more piece of information here. Bryce is the CEO of Sharpen, a nonprofit in which they help serve the less fortunate, changing the world one life at a time. We definitely got to get into all this. Bryce, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
No, we're super stoked to have you. I know we were talking earlier about just life, how things attract certain people and how we've kind of been attracted to each other in certain circles. And I can't wait to get into this interview. But before we get into it, why don't you take a moment to just kind of introduce yourself to the listeners?
I appreciate it. So my name is Bryce Mckinley. People call me Coach Sharpen. I believe that sharpen is not just a word that comes from the Bible as iron sharpens iron, so does one another to his brother. For me, it's an acronym. And so when I look myself in the mirror, it's something that I can reflect on every day. And so it stands for selflessly helping all ready people eager for nurturing. The key there is ready and eager, because I'm picky, just like Jesus Christ, like he was picky, right? Many are called, but few are chosen. I believe that you got to be picky about who you work with and only work with people that are serious about working with you. And so with that kind of on the forefront, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, serial entrepreneur. And I came from little to nothing, had the world, and I'm sure we'll get into that, had the world by the you-know-what, lost it all to sleep in my car, attempted suicide to get it all back tenfold, and I'm on a mission to change the world. So that's a little bit about me.
Love it. And I love that you've been able to build twice, right? Like you've been able to build it up, lose it, and almost go the complete wrong route, only to be able to come back stronger than ever. And first and foremost, though, I would love to get into the nonprofit aspect of what you do. And, and then we definitely got to talk about how you've got to work with people that you want to work with, right? Like Ron and I want to work with impactors. It's not about the money. It's not about just the dollars and cents. It is about working with the right people that want to be out there and deliver good messages, right? And so we're attracting the right people in that same level. And so I love that you mentioned that. But yeah, let's hear about this nonprofit, changing one life at a time, that you got.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So full transparency, right now it's a little inactive as I've been focused on my other businesses that are primarily the vehicle to help fund the mission. But Sharpen was a group of men here in Dallas that we was meeting every Saturday morning. And we would meet, have breakfast, do a Bible study. And then my boy and I, we would take, funds that we would raise throughout the week or at our meetings, and then we would go out and serve the homeless and less fortunate. But unlike what most people believe, the homeless and the less fortunate, they don't always just show up to shelters. And I believe that you should probably go out a little bit further. And so rather than going on like a Saturday or Sunday afternoon when it's probably the safest, I took my boy to the highways and the byways. I took him to the hood. I took him to the street corners at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when there's gang violence and gunshots and hookers and prostitutes that just need a little help. And so that to me was the mission. And so while that mission is starting to shift to bring other leaders together, I do believe that this world needs not just a series of leaders, but a leader or two to lead those leaders, because our churches are broke, our homes are broke, our businesses are broke. And at the end of the day, if that's the case, that means they're all living off of their own standards that they've set for themselves. And I believe that there's a greater purpose and mission out there to bring them all together. So that's what I'm working on behind the scenes. And real estate's been a blessing to be a vehicle to fuel that. So
that is so good. I mean, literally speaks to our heart. I mean, at the end of the day, we feel very blessed that we're able to help impact people. And if we can, impart some faith in that aspect for people to get on the right path. But I mean, literally, Corey and I were just talking about this. We don't work with anyone that just wants to make money. I mean, everybody wants to make money, and we think that's kind of lame. So for us, it's like you have to be able to want to impact other people, make the world a better place. And so we've put that out there, and we've been really pushing the, impactors and impacting the impactors, where we look at all of our clients now, Bryce, they're all faith-based. They're all trying to impact people. They all have amazing tribes that they're trying to create things. And what's cool about that is there's not a lot of companies doing that. And if everybody just did that, how much stronger would the church be? How much stronger would people's faith be? And I think, especially nowadays, you need that more than anything. So I think that's amazing. But let's kind of talk a little bit about your real estate. I think it's crazy. Corey and I have been kind of dabbling in, do we want to get into real estate? Do we want to not get into real estate? And we've had all of a sudden this circle of people who are in real estate that were like, okay, now seriously, how are they all starting to come towards us? Maybe it's time to get involved. But for you to close 8,000 without going there, like, talk to me about that. That's some virtual stuff right there.
Yeah. So this wasn't COVID related. My story in real estate really starts 9-10 years ago. I had went through a series of unfortunate events. And so not sure how far back you guys want to go. I'm an open book because I believe that somebody listening can really glean from my story at any point, from being raised in a cult to joining gangs and violence and beating a murder case by 17 to grabbing the world by the you-know-what and being the number one car salesman in the world for almost 10 years to lose it all after, a child was taken and then my wife took her life. I found myself homeless, battered, beat up, hating the world, hating God. And I found real estate literally, like I say, in the backseat of my car, but I was at a home. I was homeless. I was at a computer at the library looking for a job, and I found, the YouTube University route. And I realized what I have done with Fortune 500 companies, I mastered processes. And a series of processes can create a system. And when I heard about this wholesaling real estate thing 8-9 years ago, I'm like, dude, I can do this. This is easy. And I've got a process. So I just went to work. And my first month, I contracted like 23 transactions, 23 houses, didn't know what I was doing, had not a clue. But I knew that I could solve people's problems when they were behind on their bills or in a situation that they needed help by getting their house under contract. And then I ended up like, let's go find a buyer. So then I would sell this paperwork to buyers for a profit. So, if we contracted a house for $100,000 and I sold it to a buyer for $110,000, well, I made 10 in the middle. Real quick, in and out. And I didn't spend a dime other than my time on the phone and sending an email. That was it. The challenge was I didn't really understand the back end process. And so I went searching. I found a company local here in Dallas where I'm at now. And I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. They were hiring for acquisitions person, salespeople. I'm like, I went through their hiring process, and then I pitched them my consult. I'm like, I don't want to work for you. I want to work with you. And they weren't very happy with me. But after about a month and a half, I got the phone call back, and they're like, hey, if you can do that again, we'll make you a minority partner. So what I do, Ron, I went to work, man. I got 37 my second full month in the business, and they made me a partner. Ended up growing their company to a $150 million company up until about 3 years ago. And they just got complacent. You know, they lost track of what their mission was, right? And one got married, one moved to Mexico to manage properties. And I love those guys. I have nothing bad to say about them. Their mission that they set out to do just came falling apart because they didn't have their hand on the wheel. And so 3 years ago, I actually walked away from that business and started over again. And that's kind of where my personal coaching and personal development and coaching and speaking came from. And now you fast forward 3 years from that walk away and 9 years total, we've done over 8,000. And actually between my partner now and I, we've done a little over 11,000 transactions, completely virtual, all but five that I walked and I ended up buying myself and owned in-house, completely virtual. So COVID's only helped our business because we didn't have to adapt. We just got to break our systems and become better. And other people are having the opportunity to learn from what we've already been doing for years. So it's been really cool.
It's such an incredible story. But so Ron and I mentioned, like we've been talking our business. We're not a real estate company, obviously, but we understand the power of real estate, and we are thinking of it on the business level. So we know nothing. We don't have any capital. Like what do we do first? What do we go do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that this is why we've had the success that we've had, because unlike anybody else in this business, they'll tell you to go start networking with people in real estate, start, going to real estate meetups. And I'm over here like, don't do that. That's the biggest waste of time. Like, why would I spend 3 hours a week going to different networking meetups when everybody there is barely doing anything and they want to go see who's got the biggest pocketbook, right? Swinging their stick around and wondering who's got what working, and nobody ever does anything. They might do 1 or 2 transactions a month. The really big guys that you see all over the media, it's like they do 10 or 15 deals or 20 or 30 deals with a team of 100. It's like nobody's making money over there except for the guy at the top. And I just don't feel that that's the best way to run a business. And so my advice would be to go where the people are. Corey, Ron, you want to get into real estate? Go talk to homeowners. Like, go where the people are. Where's everybody at? Where are we broadcasting right now? Social media. Yep. You think if you went on social media on any platform and said, hey, I've got some extra cash this month, I want to buy a fixer-upper. Do you know anybody that's got one? You might get a few leads for free. It didn't cost you a dime. And I've got a whole process behind this and what we teach, but this is where I started out. Not to mention for sale by owner. I mean, there's websites out there that have nothing but for sale by owners. Go have a conversation with them. Other websites that have other for sale by owners, right? Like Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and Craigslist, like Facebook Marketplace. There's 5 mediums right there with free leads. Go talk to people. Tell everybody what you're doing. I'm getting into real estate. I just need a fixer-upper. And then if you don't have the money, there's hard money, private money, lenders. You've got good credit. You might get a conventional loan, but most likely not on a house that needs work. So if you don't have those 3 things working for you, get the house under contract and come talk to somebody like me that's a buyer. I buy the house for higher than what you contracted it for. And the difference between the 2 contracts is what you get paid. Now you've got quick cash flow. Rinse and repeat that 2 or 3 times a month. And the average assignment or contract in the middle is between $7,000 and $8,000. So if you did 2 or 3 of those, I mean, 15 to 20 grand minimum, just to get started a month's not a bad place to start.
Not at all. Like, first off, one, thank you. I mean, I wasn't expecting that answer. So I think that's probably an amazing answer because it's not the norm. Right. And it's just real. Like, if you want something done, you have to go to where it needs to be done. Right. Yeah. So it's funny. And it kind of goes back to the stuff we offer, Corey, if you think about it. Right. So if the things we don't want to be, we don't want to be that person that sells somebody into something just to sell them into something else. Right. Yeah. That's one. Two, if we tell you everything's included, it's included. There's no upsell. But where are we meeting people? At the beginning. And we're telling them that's how it is. So we were approaching real estate a totally opposite way, but it's actually the exact same way as how we're doing business. Right.
It is. And it's funny you say that. I'm glad that you shared that because that's actually how my coaching program is. It's like, dude, I'm going to give you everything. We either hang out 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. It's just how long do you want the advice? How long do you want the sharpen in your life? And we've been blessed to have, over 1,100 students in the last 2.5 years with 100% success rate because we give you everything and then we hold you accountable to it.
Right.
We don't upsell you. We don't downsell you, side sell you, and affiliate something. So I love that you guys mentioned that. And so, yeah, we have the same principle.
That's awesome.
Love it. All right. So let's talk more about that coaching. Is it like a monthly mastermind type thing, or is it like step one, you follow this process, you get weekly attention, or you go through this course? Like what's the coaching like?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked. So I think that one of the things that we do differently, not that we do it differently, we're just different. And I believe that different is better than better. And so where you might hire, I'm not even gonna say any names, you might hire this guru or this guru or this guru in real estate, and they give you all this information and overwhelm you. I believe that you can't master a system if you don't master the process. So I give you income producing activities like check this box to get this result, check this box to get this result. And I also understand that everyone learns differently. Some people learn on their own. Some people need that accountability. Some people need that community. And so we've done that. So we have, an online module learning course. We have, the REI Results Academy, where it's like a community. We built out our own like social media platform. So you don't even have to be in our coaching mastermind to like ask questions and message on our website and our platform once you log in. But then there's like the paid communities to where you've got the video modules so you can go out and just do it at your own pace. But then we have 3 calls a week where my business partner and I that have done tens of thousands of transactions, we spend time with you. Every Tuesday morning, every Thursday evening, we're on a call answering questions, having a specific topic on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday having a Q&A. And sometimes we've done such a great job, there's no questions, and you know what we get to do? We just call your leads with you and close deals. It's been amazing. And then this last year, we've actually implemented what we call What's Up Wednesday, where we have a call with our community, but the coaches are not there. It's just the community, like they get to shoot shop and like talk crap and role play their conversations and hang out with each other. I've had in the last 6 months, I've had like 8 people actually partner to form 4 companies inside of our community. So now they're like business partners. It's been really cool to see. And now, we've got international students because everything we do is virtual. I've got students in Japan and Mexico, South America, Canada, 2 in the UK, and they're doing deals from all over the world back into the US, making real cash. It's been really cool. It's been really cool.
Oh my gosh. Like how do we start that? Like that's where I'm at, right? It's like, yeah, that sounds great. No, I think it's amazing because you said a couple things that are super powerful when you're talking about communities or movements or the impact you're impacting people. And I think God's amazing how he works. Because if you think about it, your community is now rising up and you're helping those people rise up by giving them the platform and the space to rise up. and you're encouraging it. So now they're just going to keep rising and bring more people into that community because they see the power of it, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
did you go into it wanting to create that, or did it just start spiraling into that?
That's a great question. I would have to say the latter. And because everything that I teach, I mean, whether you're a believer of the Bible or not, you can't deny that the Bible is like the hands down best-selling book of all time, whether it's relationships, business, ethics, morals, values, whatever, right? And so I based all of my principles and teaching lessons around that. And I think when you do the right thing happens to you, right? Like energy goes where energy flows. And I believe that. And so, it started out like, oh shoot, I just left my partnership. I need to tell my wife at some point, I'm going to wait a couple weeks. We just bought a house. We had just got married. We were getting married like in a month. I left my partnership. We're getting married, bought a house, and oh shoot, I got these coaching students, and I just started talking to students and putting the word out there that this is what people need. And here we are, over 1,100 students later in 3 years, and have been super blessed. At the time, it was just a one-on-one. And then it's like, hey, I want to build this. One of my very first students at the very beginning is like, hey, we need to create this community. So we created a Facebook group, and then we did this, and it just kind of just kept going and going. And some of my original founding, my business partner that helped me kind of grow this, he and I are no longer partners. We're still friends, but it's like he had some personal stuff and he couldn't hang out as long as I thought he would. And there's no bad blood. We're doing it the right way. And we're talking about doing a deal together right now. Heck, even my previous business partner that I left to do this, we're JVing a deal right now because they know I'm doing good business. And so I've been super blessed with that. And I think it just boils down to, Ron, to answer your question in a short sense, is it's just favor. I believe that it's favor because I'm doing the right thing. And when you do the right thing, good things will come out of it.
Yep.
Yes, agreed. I love that. But one other piece of information that I want to circle back to, 100% success.
No.
That, like, how is that possible? A, but also more importantly, how do you measure that, right? Like, I know Ron and I, for our podcast program, we measure the success by A, everyone launching, and B, when they hit the charts. Like, these are the two pieces of measurements for our podcast launching program. And so anybody that hasn't launched, like, we keep going back to them. We keep working. We keep making sure that they have what they need, the tools that they need to launch, because that's how we measure our success. It's not how many students we get into the program. It's who launches and when do they hit the charts. So what is your measurement for 100% success? And then how on earth do you get 100%? Because that's incredible.
Yeah, so it boils down to a couple of things. Number one, I believe, and this is one of the same reasons, like when I teach sales and persuasion, the only reason, I hear, Grant Cardone, for example, he's an amazing marketer. He's a horrible salesperson. I tell him to his face. Why? Because all he does is talk about objections and rebuttals, and he wants to teach you objections and rebuttals. But guess what? If you set the right expectation and boundaries, you don't have objections. So I believe that's one of the main reasons why we've had the success that we have, is because I set the right expectation and I hold true to my boundaries. That's the first part. So it starts with me. I've got to put my own oxygen mask on before I can take care of anybody else that's going to follow, right? The second part of it is that, just like what you said, like, I'm not going to let someone fail or fall to the wayside that's in my flock. Right. I quoted something a while back and I didn't realize that somebody else had quoted something similar, but it's like, shame on you leaders for always worrying about being in charge, and start worrying about the ones that you're in your charge. And when I said that, I hadn't even known, maybe I read it somewhere, but I didn't realize it. I just quoted it. And it's so true. And so while someone comes in not believing in themselves, like, their wins are going to be the success. So when we have our intro call and it's like, I want to be able to do one deal, that may be the level of success. But for me in-house, It's like, I want to get you your investment back. So even if you do one deal, we're going to do like $100,000 deal, right? I want to get you your investment back, but then we're going to do another deal because I want you to get your investment back twice. So that's been our in-house measure, is to not only get someone their investment back into the program, but to get it back twice. So,
yeah. I'm loving this. Like it's funny because obviously you can see I am dislodged from my office because I thought it would be great to remodel the basement. So I actually like designed the basement, got a CAD program, designed it all out, gave it to the carpenter guy and said, here's the blueprint. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. Then a friend of mine, he's like, yeah, we bought a ranch, but all the ranches are gone in this neighborhood. So we had to pop a second floor on it. I'm like, really? I go, did you design the second floor? He goes, well, I had to pay someone to do it. I was like, I want to do it. Right. Like, so in my mind, it's like, holy smokes. Like that's such a cool, creative way to increase the value of a home that maybe other people have already done. So if you're in a neighborhood, right, and there's no more ranches, that might have happened, right? Have you seen that? Or do you do stuff like that? Or is that different than what you do?
So I'm not really sure or clear on the question, to be perfectly honest with you.
Not a problem.
So I personally, I don't go into like hands-on. I mean, this is about as dirty as my hands get. You know?
Okay. That's fair.
Maybe soft.
I like that. I don't like my hands getting dirty either. So I think that's
so we're A to Z in everything that we do. It just depends on which business you're looking at, right? So from 10 years ago, sleeping in my car to fast forward now today, it's like I have a wholesaling and acquisition team that contracts and just sells paper. So if you want to buy that ranch house and add a second story to it, I'll go find it and put it under contract and just sell you the paperwork so you actually pay for the deal, and I just take the money in the middle, right? So that's our wholesaling and acquisition team.
Got it. Okay.
And then we have a property management company to where if we get a really good deal over here, rather than selling you that deal, I'll just buy it in-house, and then we manage that property, fix it, flip it, clean it up, rent it out, whatever that looks like. And then we also, my partner and I, we own, one of the largest Keller Williams brokerages in North Texas with, several thousand agents, so that we have realtors out there kind of on the ground, not just
folks. I was unaware of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, between the multiple ancillary businesses, and we've got a company that raises capital to also buy our deals. So we buy our deals with other people's money and then give them a return, and then we own the property. So we've got about 4 or 5 in-house businesses all around residential, single family, small multifamily, duplex, stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So 5-hour flip. You've got a challenge. I think it's free if I saw correctly. I could be wrong, but like that doesn't even comprehend a 5-hour flip. So,
my basement's taking longer than 5 hours.
So this is what I love about what we do differently. So think of this, Ron and Corey. Like you go down the road that Ron just said. You want to take down this house. You want to do what they do on the flip or flop shows. Whatever show you watch that's out there like that, they make it happen in 60 minutes. They fast forward the timeline, and it's really 3 or 4 months, right? The average flip is between 4 to 6 months. Got 4 to 6 months of time, headaches with contractors running off with money and not coming back, headaches with contractors running off with other contractors' tools and not showing up. Now you got to buy that other contractor's tools because this guy did. These problems that come up.
Wow.
Well, guess what? The average flipper, like the 80%, right? Those guys are making between $30,000 and $40,000 on a flip, on average. $100,000 to $150,000 on a flip. Well, if that's the case, and it takes 4 to 6 months to do that, and then I look at the process that I was referring to you earlier. Well, the average wholesale transaction is between $7,000 and $8,000. So how many of those do I have to do to make the same as a flipper does? Right? 2 a month?
Yeah.
2 a month, and I can live the same life that guy does, but that guy's working 50, 60 hours a week for 6 months, and my process is about 4 to 5 hours from start to finish. Like it's like a 30 to 40-minute conversation with the seller, a homeowner that has a property, 10 or 15 minutes running numbers, 10 or 15 minutes running paperwork. So now we're at like an hour and a half, right? We contract the property, we send it to title, another 15, 20 minutes. And then we market that property out to buyers, another 15, 20 minutes. So now we're at like, what, 2.5, 3 hours? Buyers, a handful of buyers say yes. Then we have a showing for 2 or 3 hours and a call back to each one that made a tentative offer. So now we're at like 3.5, 4 hours. And everything else is just in the middle, right? So it's like, then we go to title and we close. 5-hour flip method.
Wow.
So where it takes 40 to 60-hour weeks for 6 months to make 50 or 60 grand, I'm over here like, I can work 5 hours this week and do 1. Or maybe I can do 2 in 10 hours, or maybe 4 in 20 hours. And, oh, wait, in those 20 hours, I made more than that guy did in 6 months.
God, that just makes all the sense. I guess I don't understand wholesaling that much, but that makes a ton of sense and kind of fits in how I want to do things. So that
I mean, not getting our hands dirty, like first and foremost, we're not going to be doing that.
That's electrical. So
yeah, wholesale. I mean, wholesale's easy. Let's say, God forbid, Corey's in a bad situation. Somebody left him a property, they passed away, or Corey lost his job and he got behind on taxes. And Corey and I, we decide that we're going to have a conversation. And we agree on a price. So let's just say Corey's house is valued all fixed up at $300,000, but it needs 50 in work. Well, I don't give him 250. I give him 200. Okay. So 200, it needs 50. So I'm in it for 250. I could sell it for 300 and make 50 grand if I was flipping it. But I go over to Ron, my end buyer, and say, hey, I got this house. I'll sell it to you for 210. They're like, oh, it's worth 300. That's a great deal. It needs 50 in it. So now you're in it for 260 and you make 40. You buy the paperwork for me, Ron. Corey gets his money. I get the 10K in the middle. It's a win-win-win-win. And I go to the next deal. Really cool part of it is that 40K that he made. Think about the return on investment, right?
Yeah.
40K on a $200,000 investment, you're getting 20, 30% returns on your money. And as a flipper or a fixer-upper or whatever you want to call it, show up and sign the paper and buy the house and swing the hammer. I make those guys' jobs really easy. I make it easy for the seller, the homeowners, and I make a little bit of money. Rinse and repeat that over and over and over. Been very blessed.
No kidding. Holy smokes. I absolutely love that. So you have this coaching program, right, where you help people get involved in your world, right? Yep. And you said earlier it's not necessarily about getting that first investment back, it's getting the second investment back. How intensive is it to learn what you're doing in this course?
I think the answer to that is subjective to the person that's learning. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, I can say it's easy. It's easy for me. It may not be as easy for you. And one of the talents or gifts that I've been given is to be able to break things down in incremental steps that give you actionable results. I mean, hence the name of my company, right? REI Results. I want you to get the results that you've been asking for. I want you to see the success that you've always dreamed about in real estate without spending a whole bunch of extra money and a whole bunch of time running around in circles, going to real estate meetups and driving around neighborhoods, like knocking on doors. While that stuff works, it takes so much longer to get the same result. And so the how, or how easy is it? It's pretty easy if you trust the process. And so that's one of the things I like to say is like, just trust the process. You put certain marketing out, leads will come in, have a conversation, you'll get a contract. And that's what I teach. It's like, I'll teach you the marketing to find the people, which is really easy, especially for marketing guys like you guys, right? Like, that's easy. I'm not even a marketing guy, and I figured out how to have a catchy question to have homeowners call me back, you know? And then they call me and I just have a conversation. And then there's a 5-step process to every conversation. We're doing it right now. And then there's a contract to be had. And then you rinse and repeat that on the buyer side, marketing out, leads come in, have a conversation, and another contract. And the difference between the two is what you get paid.
All right. So good. So good. All right. One question that we got to ask, because our show Hindsight Hacking, like we got to ask the one question about hindsight. And with all of your experience specific to the wholesaling, specific to really the last 9 years of the businesses that you've been working on, what's been that greatest teacher that, oh man, you wish you would have known at day one? You wish you would have, like, I know you're probably teaching it already to all your students, but what's that like biggest thing that anybody getting into the business that they need to know today before they sign that first deal, before they really make an effort to avoid those pitfalls?
You know, that's a tough one for me, to be honest with you, Corey, because I believe that when you study masters, you just don't make mistakes because they've already made them for you, right? And so I studied myself, and real estate is just a vehicle. So it's all about your perception of where you're at, right? Like, I mean, I wish I would have known more about affidavits of heirship. Like, you'll learn that more times you do deals, right? Like, understanding the heirship process and how it probates. Like, you don't need to know that stuff. Like, when it comes up, learn it as you go, but trust the process. So I don't know that I necessarily have the greatest answer that you may have expected, as much as it takes me back to like the automotive industry, because I used the same process when I was contracted with, the Pentagon and teaching CIA operatives how to negotiate. I use the same process in real estate that I use at Tyco Corporation with the acquisition from ADT and Brink Security and separating them and negotiating that deal. I use the same process when I was selling cars at 18, 19 years old, traveling all over the world, teaching struggling dealerships how to sell cars. For me, the answer goes back so much further, and that's the lesson that I wish that I would have learned when I was a kid, and that would be that there's always another explanation. If you can live life as if there's another explanation, you don't have your hurts and hangups last nearly as long. If there's another explanation, that leaves opportunity for growth and progress. And for me, I wish I would have known as a struggling 10, 11-year-old boy when my parents separated that there was another explanation, because I wouldn't have been hating them all my life. I wish I would have known when I was gangbanging and dope dealing that there was another explanation, because I was dealing with the factor that I had from before. And then when I got acquitted of murder at 17, I wish I would have known there was another explanation, that I'd be having a platform like this to talk to the world, to give hope and peace and love and joy that only my Heavenly Father can give. So for me, the hindsight is live life as if there's another explanation, because real estate's just a vehicle. Mm-hmm. So that's where I would have to go with that.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. So that is powerful statements, powerful hindsight, clearly. I would love to keep on the conversation, but I want to kind of gear things towards, what are you working on now? What is the next thing for you? And how can other people get involved?
I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you that not even my business partner knows this, because this came to me this morning.
Oh, new stuff.
Breaking news.
I believe that energy goes where energy flows, and energy flows where energy goes. And so, since we're all believers here, you and I would have both agreed that when 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, that he's right here in our midst. And at the very beginning of our conversation, we were talking about, bringing people together. And I looked up at my wall here, and I seen it. You know what time it is. And that's one of my catchphrases. Like, I go live. That's why I got a backwards hat. I'm like, you know what time it is? And I've been having these visions. Like, I'm a super high visionary. And so I've told my wife this afternoon. I told one of my best friends and business partners in another business He was a part of Sharpen. And now I'm going to tell the world. And I believe that when I put it out there in faith, that it'll come back to me tenfold. And so my next project is to create a world church. And hear me out on this. What I mean by that is right now of all times, when we look at the past, right? Like I think it was Benjamin Franklin. I don't remember, one of our presidents, somebody said it, like if you don't understand and study the past, you're bound and determined to repeat it, right?
Yep.
You look at this world and how hurting this place is, how torn apart and divided we are. And yet you have your faith, I have my faith, so-and-so has their faith, and we're all going to separate on Sunday, go to our house of God, quote unquote, church, and then come back together on Wednesday and wonder why we're still upset with each other because we have all these different doctrines yelling and screaming that that's not the way to go, that's not the way to go. And I've had this vision now for about 4 or 5 years. I didn't know where it was going, but this morning, I've been praying for clarity for about the last 6 months. And this morning, it came to me crystal clear. And that was this. 3 years ago, the first vision I had was like a Billy Graham crusade preaching to millions of people. I didn't know if it was me preaching. I just seen myself on the stage with multiple preachers with a bigger audience. And then I seen about a couple of months ago, you know how when you have a dream or a vision and you're like, oh, this was with that one, right?
Yeah.
Now it was like people was in my face, like screaming, crying out for God, their faith, their belief. And I was like right there. It was right in front of me, crystal clear. And then this morning, I was on my way to a dentist appointment. And I was just it's raining here in Dallas today. It's kind of gloomy. And I went like this, and I'm like, I'm going to listen to this podcast. And it was a podcast by Stephen Furtick, and it says, I'm still scared. I know a lot of you listening to this, even as a high-performing entrepreneur, you have those days where maybe you're not so fearful, but you're still scared. Like, what's the next step? For me, that's what I've been looking for. I wasn't fearful. You know, my belief is that you don't go through life in fear, but it's okay to be scared. I'm not fearful. I'm not. I'm a little scared because I don't know what it looks like. I know there's a big responsibility on my shoulders. So for you to ask me what my next step is, this vision came to me. Like I was driving back from my dentist appointment. I'm just weeping in tears, crying out to God, just praising and worship in the car. And I seen the same 2 other visions, but now it was like, this is what I've done in the secular world. I've been on stage with Les Brown and Ty Lopez and Manny Lopez and Dr. Eric Thomas, Tom Bilyeu, John Maxwell, like the greatest speaker, coaches, leaders in the world. Why aren't we all working together? And so the vision that I had was getting these ministers. So if you're listening to this and you're a minister, like reach out to me, but I'm coming for you. Bishop Jakes, Dr. Evans, Stephen Furtick, I'm coming for you guys because we need to be working together. And if you're not going to facilitate it, I'm gonna, because I've already had all the secular world leaders. Now I'm going to bring the mission together, and we're going to change the world. So that's what I'm working on as of about 10:30 this morning.
Holy smokes!
So
that's power.
Well, Bryce, I gotta say, like, A, your answer to the hindsight question, and then B, what you're working on now, like that is beyond anything that we would have ever thought. The answer that for the hindsight was more real and deeper than so many that have come before you, and your mission to change the world. Like, man, my hat's off to you. Mic drop. Like all the good things that I could say. Like.
Yep.
My goodness, incredible. I can't wait to see it and watch it and maybe be involved with it. Definitely, like it's super, super props and much respect for sure.
Appreciate it.
Oh, man.
Just pray for me, man. Just pray for me. And if you know one of these leaders that might be interested in having a conversation with or without them, I'm going to move forward. And so, you know.
Yeah. No, I think I will definitely add that to the prayer list for sure. And I know if how you explained it, I know it's your gift, and I know you will make it happen because everything you've been doing in the past is setting you up for that. So I cannot wait to see that. And like Corey said, hopefully we can be a part of that.
Appreciate it. I'm scared. But I'm not fearful.
All right, Bryce. Thanks so much, man. We appreciate the time.
Hey, my pleasure, guys.
Woo. All right. Do we need like our roadcaster with some sound effects, with the mic drops, with the cheering, with the oohs and ahs, because I'm just blown away at the moment. But 2 takeaways. We got it for you out there in the audience, out there watching, out there listening. We got a couple takeaways for you. So Ron, take it away.
So many. That was such an amazing interview. Like, again, don't know what I was expecting. Didn't expect that. Phenomenal. The one thing that kind of resonated was, and I've said this in the past, and I've talked to my wife about this, and I know you and I have had these conversations in the past, but set expectations and create boundaries, right? In everything that you do. Yeah. Set the expectations, help people understand the expectations, right? Because if they go into it, like how many times, perfect example, we were hired to run a summit for somebody who's never done it before and they wanted to make $1 million. The answer was no. It wasn't. That is the wrong expectation to have, right? You break even on your first one, probably a better expectation. If you get more than that, it's a win, right? So expectations, boundaries. Gosh, I'm going between two of them. I'm going to do this one. Study yourself so you can learn from your mistakes. Okay? Because there's so many times that I was like, man, I feel like I have done this before. And I know, like, I'll talk to God. I'm like, okay, what lesson am I supposed to learn? What lesson am I not learning? And why do I keep finding myself in the exact same position? And it's because I haven't taken the time to study what got me there in the first place.
Right.
And learn from it. So I think that'll be number 2 for me.
Awesome. And then mine is definitely, I always try to look at both sides of the coin, right? Like I try before I react, I try to get both sides of the story for whatever it is. And, but Bryce takes it one step further with always look for the other explanation.
That was so good.
Another explanation. Like that blows me away. It speaks to me on such a tremendous level that we all should be able to take a moment and look for the other explanation instead of looking even on the good stuff, right? Like there's always another explanation. You should be looking on all sides before you truly get stuck on one or the other. So anyway, such a fun time. And to all of you that watched, thank you. To all of you that are listening, thank you. And we will see you on the next episode.
Guys, thanks for being an impactor and impacting so many.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And you know what? If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Head on over facebook.com/groups/profits with.
Guys, we are super excited to have you be a part of our community and help you get more visible, get more traffic, and get more sales.
That's right, Ron. And every time someone is in our group, we get to share all the tips, the tricks, and everything that you can get profits with from your summits, your challenges, your workshops, your podcasts, your vodcasts, and so much more.
Guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hack.